We have to start with our check-in. Get your hands back up.
Throw your hands up.
Mm-hmm. Just like winning Rookie of the Week, Jayden's going to win it for a 6th time this week. He's already won 5 of them. He's also our only multiple-time winner of the check-in presented by Allstate.
Yes.
Wow.
Jayden Daniels completed a Hail Mary with no time on the clock as Tyreek Stevenson was taunting Commanders fans and not staying connected with Noah Brown. This was such a dramatic game because the Commanders really blew it in the red zone for a lot of the game. They could have been up by a lot. They had 4 field goals and, if not for a 60-yard run by DeAndre Swift and Caleb Williams briefly getting it together at the end of the game, it would have been a devastating loss for a team that looked better for the Commanders. But the legend of Jayden Daniels started today. With 23 seconds on the clock, Domonique turned to me and goes, "The legend begins right now." And he was right. He was right because good things don't happen to us. This doesn't happen. And only great players complete that type of Hail Mary. Extend the play, get everyone down there.
Aaron Rodgers, 2-6 Jets, the only great players and teams.
Exactly. You just compared him to prime Aaron Rodgers.
No. He's in an Aaron Rodgers Jets team. He's talking about the Hail Mary he completed a couple weeks ago.
This one was different. This one looked better.
Oh, God.
It did.
So I got to ask you, my question here is going to be, should I temper my joy? Or how significant is a win like this for a Commander's team? Because it changed my life.
I'm a cornerback, so temper and joy is not something we do. We celebrate incompletions, even if it's an overthrow. It's a damn incompletion. Today was a damn win, and it wasn't. I would feel less happy if I were you if it felt like you stole that game. Mm-hmm. You guys were in control the entire time. You deserved to win the game. You played poorly in the red zone and weren't able to convert. Didn't go for it on that 4th and inches inexplicably. Made a bunch of mistakes, but it still felt like a game that you deserved to win. You won it in miraculous fashion, but there's nothing to be upset about. You're much better than you anticipated being before the season started, and you now have legitimate playoff expectations. Yeah. And so, today was a great day, I think, for your team and particularly for your quarterback. That's one of those moments that feels like, I'm sure Bill will go back and point out all the times when bad quarterbacks did amazing things, but it's one of those moments that feels like it only happened in part because of how good your quarterback is. Because I know that's not necessarily a skill, but he did buy time. But anyway, I'll shut up and let Bill come in with the facts and ruin all of our fantasies.
Bill, worth noting, on top of this, his ribs are also made of gelatin right now, and he was down to his 3rd string left tackle as he pulled all of this off.
Oh, I forgot to even mention that the Bears handed the ball to an offensive lineman who needed into the end zone. All right,
that was tough for me.
We got a lot to discuss about this game. First off, I love Domonique just straight up declaring me the Debbie Downer before I've even said anything on the show.
Sorry.
I feel entirely differently than you believe I believe, Domonique. This is a moment we should celebrate. Right. This is another moment in the Jayden Daniels canon, the legacy of Jayden Daniels. And it feels like it, right?
You see how far he threw that thing?
It feels like, and Tony Romo wanted to take him out before the play. He wanted to put in Marcus Mariota for that final pass. It feels like not only are they winning games, but he has these signature moments that are popping up, these plays that are becoming instant legends. I mean, not only the Hail Mary, but think about the pass to McLaren versus the zero blitz on 3rd down against Cincinnati. Like these moments where it feels like he's transforming the franchise, right? Like it feels like he's shifting the luck, the feeling of the franchise, all of that in moments like this. And I mean, you can't say you expected him to do it. You can't say you expected him to win the game. But in any other moment, I would say in the last 25 years of Washington football, it would have felt like that was hopeless. And even in that moment, it felt like there was at least a tiny bit of hope that something could happen. And that is going to continue as the year goes on. It's going to feel like Jayden Daniels can make something happen when it would have otherwise been hopeless. And I think to me, that is an enormous leap forward for the Washington franchise and for their fans, many of whom were, did you guys see the reaction shots to the Hail Mary that they put up on Twitter?
No.
There are fans flipping out right behind the play in the first row, like behind the behind the goalpost, there's 4 Bears fans in the front row, and they just, you see everyone jumping up as they just put their head in their hands. It's incredible. Art happened today in Washington.
Well, I had a live reaction shot of Charlie losing his mind in our little green room as we prepare for the show, and it was awesome. I was so happy for him, and I appreciate you, Bill, for not raining on all the things that are possible to rain on. I didn't expect you to, but I recognize that some of the, when we go into, okay, go ahead, Bill.
No, you know what who we're going to rain on? We're going to rain on cornerbacks. How do you get Noah Brown wide open? What? Yeah. This was the easiest catch of a Hail Mary I have ever seen in my entire life. Domonique, you're a cornerback. How did this happen?
We talked about it in the immediately after it happens. Is like we practice this play. There's a crowd, and there are players that are designated to be in the crowd. There's one player designated to be in front of the crowd, and there's one player designated to be behind the crowd. So you normally have big guys, taller guys, safeties or whatever, like in the crowd. Those are jumpers. And then the quicker guys tend to be cornerbacks who can react to the ball. There's normally 1 or 2, or just one behind and one in front. There was no one behind. And so, everyone collapsed onto that ball, and we expect you to bat it. And sometimes we get to bat it down, or sometimes they bat it in a direction, and the reaction is where the play is made. And we practice it all the time. Every team I was on, that was the configuration. Sometimes we'd bring in an offensive player. If we had a 6'5" tight end or something, he'd be the jumper. We'd do something like that, but we'd always practice it. And you were always taught to box out. Essentially, it's you find, because we know that they are thinking the same thing. And all you have to do is go box them out. And we also practice, because it's normally a tip. Some teams would practice box out, and other teams would practice finish that guy. Is when it's hit, when the ball is touched, you don't have to respect what you would think of as pass interference rules. So sometimes you just stand, wait for the ball to get touched, and then annihilate the guy who's waiting to catch it. Or you go over there and get you a free, cheap interception off of it. That is the percentages on that play are so low because it is such an easy play to make.
Well, so Ben Solak tweeted out the dots.
Yeah.
And Tyreek Stevenson, who was taunting the crowd for the first 5 seconds of the play, not paying attention to Jayden Daniels, was the person who was supposed to be in contact with Noah Brown.
Right.
And he tipped him the touchdown.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know how they design it, but Tyreek Stevenson was the one who hit the ball. And normally the guys who are the jumpers are in the middle of the field, and the guys who are replace guys, because you have more time. And obviously when Jayden's scrambling like that, some of those things can break down, but a Hail Mary always ends up like that. And for no one to be there, and I don't want to blame it on Tyreek because I don't know for sure, but it seems like when I would practice that play, that was the position of the guy who either had to get in front or get behind. And that sucks.
We don't need to blame anyone. We can just celebrate the fact that the best quarterback in the NFC, the best quarterback in my lifetime for the Commanders, is making magic happen.
Yeah.
I mean, this was also they didn't perform that well in the red zone, but it was a really gritty performance because he was grimacing through the rib injury for a lot of the game, and he bounced a few passes, and it seemed like that was because he was not feeling his best.
After the first drive, they taped him up with an entire ace bandage worth of tape just so he could sit on the sidelines comfortably. And then after the game, did you guys see the interview with Jayden Daniels after the game? I have never seen a more chill person in my entire life. I get more excited when I'm walking down the street and someone notices my dog than Jayden Daniels was about this incredible life-altering play for some people of the fan base, including Charlie Kravitz. I think you guys are selling this a little short, though, in terms of the blame here. Because if you don't want to blame Tyreek Stevenson, okay, don't blame Tyreek Stevenson. We don't know what the individual player responsibilities are. But what we do know is that a couple weeks after the Jets hit a Hail Mary for a touchdown on a play where it was the Bills, right? The Bills rushed 3 against them and had a spy on Aaron Rodgers for some reason. The Commanders got basically, he had to scramble a little bit to give time for guys to run downfield, but it's not like there was a blitz or a ton of pressure on Jayden Daniels. He was able to get the ball off, which is kind of the first rule of the Hail Marys. Don't let the quarterback get the ball off in a place where receivers can get open. And then you flip it to the offensive side of the ball. Domonique alluded to this earlier. There was a 3rd and goal carry from the 1 yard line where this has to be one of the first times in NFL history a player wearing 68 got a handoff. An offensive lineman for the Bears got a handoff, fumbled the ball, gave it to the Commanders. Like, those are unforced errors. Those are issues where you have to know better. And even I don't want to blame the players for this, but I do want to blame the coaching staff. I think they, in both cases, did not put their team in a position to succeed.
And to be clear, when I started this and warned that Bill might be the Debbie Downer, he reprimanded me. And 2 times back to back, he was like, let's drag it to the negative. Let's not talk about how Jayden Daniels is so magical that he's turned around the fortune of one of the most cursed franchises in the sport. Let's point out how dumb the coaches are and how the linemen fumbled the ball, right?
I got to make my money too. What are you? What's the issue here? You guys be positive. I gotta get paid too.
I appreciate that. I mean, yeah, I think there were a lot of coaching mistakes in this game, and some on the other side too. I do have to appreciate though that, Bill, you gave us the leniency to allow us to live in some of the mythology and some of the magical sports nonsense that we like to believe in. That, like, this man's presence is enough to change the fortunes of the franchises, that things like this would not have happened if he was not on this team.
Legitimately, I've heard on this podcast over and over again, the situation matters. It's more important than the quarterback. Not in this case. The situation is the quarterback.
You've also heard me say that there are some guys, and that
what are absolutes for?
Children and dumb people.
That's right.
And it's not absolutely true, but Jayden Daniels seems to be a special enough player to make this situation great.